Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar. It's about how to succeed at higher education, and I'm John Knight from University Skills Academy. Our underlying theme is how you can get qualified without going broke and having a life other than study. We'll give you a basic outline and then we'll break it down into the fine details so everybody gets exactly what's going on and how it will benefit you. What's the number one part in the 3-ingredient success recipe? My name is John Knight. I'm the bloke who's been sending you the videos from early on, and a little bit about me if you're not already familiar with what I've been up to. I'm known as a global trader. I am the founder of University Skills Academy, and for the past 25 years I've been providing high quality training across the following fields: in agriculture and accommodation, in healthcare, in process engineering, in oil and gas, mining and food, in software, and in success coaching. And I also happen to be a graduate from Curtin University of Technology over in Perth in Western Australia, and the reason why I'm here today to share this with you is that I had 2 goes at becoming a graduate. My first attempt was really bad. That would be an understatement. However, my second attempt was significantly better, and why I'm here today is to share some things with you so that you don't have to do it the hard way the first time around. You can go straight to the easy way, and you can benefit from my learning experience in a much shorter period of time than it took me to learn. Here's what you'll learn during the course: how you can use your time so that you can study, work, play sport, have time with friends and family, sleep well and not burn out, while still actually avoiding stress and managing your money while you're studying. During this presentation, we'll look at what the whole course involves and how you can avoid cramming so you can pass. Probably a good idea, pass your enrolled course. And some anti-procrastination things. Why is this important to you? Most of what's happening in higher education right now is dead wrong. 65% of first year enrolments in Australia are not getting their qualification. 48% of college and university first year enrolments are not getting their qualification in the US. It's as high as 98% for first year university enrolments in South Africa. Something's got to give. Something's got to change, and I'm here to help you through this process. Why is this important to you now? Right now, you feeling as though you're short of time? Are you short of money? Are you concerned about the workload? Are you worried about failing? Then this is for you. If you're an undergraduate in college or at university and you want to pass around, this is for you. If you're an undergraduate at college and this is not your first time around, then absolutely this is for you. If you are a postgraduate and you seem like you're marking time and have no life other than the books while all your contemporaries are off getting jobs or getting married or starting businesses, then this is most definitely for you. If you're at TAFE, Polytechnic, trade school, and it's just tough, unrelenting work with zero fun, then this is for you. If you want to have more time, if you want to make more money, if you want to be less stressed, then this is for you. If you want to pass first time or this time or even better than pass, then this is for you. If you're worried about the high cost of failing at higher education, then this is for you. Some smarts helps. You've got to have some basic academic skill set, and we'll talk to you about how you can go about getting those basic academic skill sets if you think you're a little behind what you need to be. But let me make this absolutely perfectly clear. You do not have to be a genius to get through higher education. What you do need is to 1, work, 2, be organised, maintain the motivation and stay fresh and keen and dedicated for the length of the course. That's what you need to do. And beyond that, we can break down each one of these components so it becomes systematically repeatable, so that that little bit of good work goes a long way and that your successful outcomes are repeatable and systematically achievable. Let's talk about what's required. Work so that you can achieve. How much do you need to work? Well, typically an undergraduate needs to work a minimum of 10 hours per subject. So if you have 4 hours of class time per subject, you need to commit another 6 quality hours for each subject on a weekly basis. And there are other ways to consider this, and we'll discuss them in the course. But for now, just settle with the 10-hour rule. Where there's multiple studies out there observing that students who study in the library achieve up to 3 times more work in the same amount of time had they done that work at home. When? Well, there are 2 parts to this. You need to know, are you an early morning person? If so, do you study in the morning? If you're not, do the night owl thing. But just make sure that you get a minimum of 6 to 7 hours sleep or more per day, with only occasional exceptions. And the next is best to review new work within 24 hours. Now, at the end of that 10 hours work, what have you actually learned to the point where you could teach it? If you've spent 3 hours reading a chapter and can't remember anything after what you've just read, while being an authentic person, you can't seriously count those 3 hours as effective study, can you? I had someone tell me exactly that the other day. They said that they had started reading a chapter at 11, finished at 2, and couldn't remember not a thing over those 3 hours they'd spent reading the book but they'd read it, well, I'd categorise that as a wasted effort, wouldn't you? Better off sleeping. So how much? Was it effective or wasted effort? You can answer that. Now, this might sound a little bit extreme, but we look at every single hour of the day and making sure you get regular breaks, and we treat time like money and then spend it accordingly. But that's an in-depth exercise that we do in the course. Typically a trade is going to be 5 years. A degree is going to be 3 years. Postgrad can blow out to 5 or 6 years depending on the area of study in some cases. So without flogging a cliche, it's not a sprint. And guess what? It's not a marathon either. It's actually a series of back-to-back sprints with the appropriate time in between those sprints to rest and recover and contemplate and be ready to sprint for the next part. But if you do it correctly, there should be loads and loads of time for recovery and rest and relaxation without ever straying off the path, without ever forgetting where the finish line is and why it's there. And what we do is we develop habits to keep you fresh. We have discussions about how to stay the course, as it were. And we also have discussions about the actual cost of not completing, the alternatives to not completing. Now, I'll retell the sharpening of the saw story here because you've probably heard it before, but you need to hear it again. It is so critical to how you go about your life as a student that it's essential. You're walking through the woods, you come across a lumberjack, he's got a saw halfway through a tree, and he's sweating himself into the ground, running that saw back and forth halfway through this tree, but there's no sawdust being produced, and it's apparent to you that the saw is blunt. So you tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey mate, maybe have a break and sharpen that blade." And he doesn't even turn around to look at you or stop, he just keeps driving that blunt blade back and forth into the tree and says, "I can't stop, I'm too busy. If I stop now, I'll never get it done." Now, had he stopped for a couple of minutes and put an edge on that saw, had a cup of tea to rest and refresh and start again, he would have knocked it over in another 4 or 5 minutes, but he's still there today, trying to chop down a tree with a blunt saw and getting nowhere. Why is this important? It's important because when you are actually not studying, you need to be genuinely relaxed so you are not wondering, should I be at the books or should I be at the movie? Should I be at the beach or should I be at the books? When you're resting, you can be resting. So when you're studying, you can be studying, and you can be relaxed about both sides of that coin. So that's why the motivation is important. So you can make the most of your time and learn and retain the knowledge. This will help you take the pressure off exams. We do both informing and formation training to that effect, but it's way too deep for now. So what we're looking at here is we teach you how to deal with the pressure so you can pass in minimum time, so you can be organized and have time to do all that's required of you from life and study. Then this is for you. We look at natural systems so you never ever have to cram. Now, it's important that you understand that there is no substitute for hard work, but if you do it right, you only have to do stuff once and never have to do it again. It's there. So here's the question. If you never had time to do it right the first time and say, I'll do it better the next time, when are you ever going to get the time to do it better the next time? Let's talk about who this is not for. People who want me to wave a magic wand and suddenly wake up a Nobel Prize winning graduate with a cool job that they love, with lots of money and no effort on their part. This will not happen here. Before I go any further, I want to establish some house rules. First of all, I refuse to pander to the academic equivalent of a get-rich-quick scheme, which may, in this environment, be labelled a get-smart-quick mentality. There is no cure-all except for well-organised, focused, effective work. Up front, stuff is a technical term that gets used a lot in this webinar and in my training. The context will be revealed at the time for its deeper meaning. There will be no magic solutions. That is, no study, no pass. I have experienced some get smart quick moments in my life, and they have always been preceded by a long period of very hard work, and then things fell into place. There will be no fake experts. The only people you will deal with at the University Skills Academy are either subject matter experts in their own right or graduates. There will be no half-baked actors or salesmen trying to hoodwink you into something. The only people here that you'll deal with are here to help you succeed. Having said that, nothing I can show you will overcome the fact that if you don't do the work, you are unlikely to pass. This is a serious presentation for serious students who want to succeed and are prepared to put the effort in to achieve your desired outcome regardless. And when I say regardless, I mean regardless of what level you're studying at, be it senior high school, trade school, TAFE, polytechnic, undergraduate college, university, postgraduate college, university, and regardless of the field that you're studying in, science, IT, arts, commerce, engineering, medicine, and further, regardless of what else is going on in your life. My results aren't remotely typical. And I probably can't even say that, because what's a typical result? Again, it's my unsubstantiated opinion that most people who buy a self-help package don't actually become better because buying the package does not complete the work for you. It's the same as people who buy a treadmill and don't lose weight because they look at it rather than run on it. But we're not here to discover why people don't get qualified. We are here to show you what needs to be done to help you do what needs to be done so you can get what you want. In this case, I suspect out of training and into a career of your choice that you love in a high-paying field in the shortest possible time. I know that this stuff is self-evident, but it's important to get this information out there so it's clear what is on offer and what is not on offer. No unicorns, no shake and bake qualifications, no results from no effort. What we are going to learn is how to 1. Manage your time so you can learn. 2. Stay fresh physically, spiritually, socially and mentally so you can learn. And then a few actual learning techniques so you can assimilate, retain and reflect the new information. But without the first two, and that is manage your time and stay fresh, the third, and that is assimilate, retain and reflect the new information, this third part will either be limited and therefore potentially non-existent or random, and I'm hoping to help you make those good academic outcomes systematic, repeatable and sustainable. And it's these elements of success planning that I am hoping you can replicate and achieve similar or even better results than I had. Again, my results aren't remotely typical, and I have to warn you up front, huge advantage over a typical undergraduate, but at this point in the webinar, most people probably wouldn't share this with you. This is what my advantage was. It was significantly different to most other undergraduates on campus. In my favour, I was a mature 30-year-old. Now, don't let that number freak you out. There is such a thing as a mature 17-year-old. Indeed, my best friend, Sam Stevens, in my opinion, was a fully formed adult at the age of 12. He just needed a few more years before the rest of the world could recognise it. So, by the time I was back at university, I had played my sport, found my wife, found a stable source of income, drunk my alcohol, convinced my wife to allow me the time in the books, and that translated to me reading law for 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon while Audrey weeded and tended the roses. She went shopping with her friends once a week for the food supplies, while I was at home alone with a textbook, a notepad and a calculator. I had moved a long way physically from any heavy time-consuming family obligations and had, in effect, without realising it, established a stable environment that freed me up to dedicate that amount of time I felt I needed to study effectively. 35% of your waking time in one single area of pursuit will tend to make you pretty good at it. I've recently read that college scholarship athletes, at least in the football programs, are only allowed 20 hours of sports training per week. This equated to 26% of their free time, or 12% of their 24-hour day. But these are the elements of what is required to succeed at higher education. Now, I am again not suggesting that you go to these extremes unless you feel that's what's required, or unless you really, really want to. But elements of this pattern can be applied and could lead to more or less similar outcomes. This is not to say that I was entirely an antisocial person and had no life. I still ran a bit. I still had a coffee with a mate once a week. And being new to campus, I was making new friends and indeed study buddies. The other advantage I had was that my boss had agreed to subsidise my class with the catch that if I failed, I had to pay them back. Further, I decided if I could not pass first semester, I would quit forever. So I had a huge positive approach and a small negative fear factor driving me to succeed. Please understand that if I can manage to do this then, you can do it now. I am not some superhero with his undies on the outside of his pants. I am a completely average person who decided to do what it took for me to succeed. It might take you a little less focus and a little less effort. It might take you a little more focus and a little more effort. But the principles are universal, and it's entirely up to you as to how you apply them. If you've ever tried higher education and found it was overwhelmingly complicated, I know exactly how you feel. I used to feel the same way. In fact, we might have more in common than you think. Let me tell you a short story. At my first attempt at higher education, I failed. In fact, calling it a failure would be very kind. Closer to a disaster might be telling the truth. But all I'm sharing with you here is not how great I am now or how dumb I was then, but what to avoid and what to do so you can succeed the first time round or this time round, and not to suffer the slings and arrows of being unqualified. Mind you, I was in good company. Try this. Of my 5 friends from first year that have PhDs, 3 of them failed their first year at university, followed by an entirely different second year, meaning that they worked rather than slacked. Yes, there's a new verb in the Jonglish language, or English, the opposite of worked is slacked. For me, however, being in the wrong course, with no mentor on campus, I ended up not qualifying in the workforce on very low wages, with bosses who knew less than me and weren't actually as smart, or who were taking my ideas and getting the credit for them. And after about a decade of putting up with this, I decided to go back and get qualified, by which time I had had enough of the nonsense. I was determined never to go back to the past reality of crap jobs and crap conditions and crap wages, simply because I didn't have a piece of paper. So getting to that decision point, I also had to wrestle with some other stuff. I didn't go back to higher education until I knew I was ready. And when I did go back, I hit the books harder than I ever had since high school. And I hit the books being super, hyper, near sociopathically organised. Well, maybe not that bad. But it paid off, not in spades, in grades. For the school leavers, you might find that suddenly your parents and teachers don't hassle you to do the work or to turn up to class, and it's because all of a sudden you're meant to be an adult. Yep, it's true. If you're 18, and therefore you can vote, you can drive, you can drink legally, preferably not in the same time, drink legally in Australia at least, and all of those great things and a few more. But because you are now one day older than you were the night before you went to bed on your 18th birthday, it doesn't mean all of a sudden you've been given a dose of 18 years of maturity in that 8 hours sleep. Of course, you've been maturing since the day you were born. I'm sorry, but that's a fact of the matter. Now, we have a saying in the Knight family. So if you've high school and you find yourself in higher education, but you've noticed that if you don't hand in the work or don't front to class, no one's on your case or giving you a hard time, it's true. And trust me, I'd rather you took my word for it rather than test theory, because the consequences of not turning up are significantly negative. I'd like you to trust my personal experience and avoid that, because every action has its consequence, and every lack of action equally has its consequence. And the outcomes of those can be either very good or very bad. Now, we have a saying in the Knight family, they don't turn into men the day they start shaving. And what we're saying here is not so much speaking of wayward teenagers, but just acknowledging that you don't completely mature as a human until you're 25 or 26. As a man. The ladies tend to get their gear together a little bit earlier, quite a bit, but that's a different discussion. Let's talk to a slightly more aged member of the audience, who's not straight into uni immediately out of high school. Indeed, contrary to my expectations when I was researching this course, there's evidence from the UK saying that you have a less chance of passing if you go to university after you've been in a job or out of a trade sometime than if you do if you're straight out of high school, which I've found counterintuitive, but there you go. And I'm not certain about the factors, but they're anecdotally suggesting that it's got something to do with having the freedoms of an adult life and a paid source of income and all these sorts of things. And there's significant adjustments with the decreased income and the obligations to the books that is seemingly leading to negative outcomes. Why am I telling you this? This is because I would like to assist you with the transition from the before to the now and allow you to retain some sanity and some balance while achieving good things academically. And to be completely open and honest about my past, I did not make that transition from school to university in any way, shape or form. But enough about me, let's keep going and why this is important to you. By the time I went back to uni, I had done enough different stuff to know exactly what I wanted to do and could do, and what I didn't want to do, which is almost as important. And these were, so when I went back, I knew it had to be an all or nothing effort. And to force the issue, I added a couple of personal promises to myself. And these were that this was my last shot. If I didn't make it now, I'd quit on higher education forever. Second promise was I was not allowed to quit. Now that sounds really, really lame, but it's true. So having decided to go back to higher education, and since having graduated, this is what I've learned over my time as an undergraduate and pass higher education into the workplace. And now I'm sharing this with you so you can do this first time or this time if it's not your first attempt. So to start with, you don't need to be a mega brain nor an Einstein. It's 3 things you do need: time management, motivation and staying fresh, and hard work. That's all it is. But the application of those 3 things can be efficient or inefficient. So if you found yourself in higher education and then found yourself struggling academically, you may have noticed that if you don't hand in the work, don't front the class, no one's going to be on your case to do it. It's true. Trust me on this. I'd rather you took my word than tested the theory yourself, because there are consequences and outcomes for every action and inaction. Rather, just like not turning up for work will stop you getting paid and probably get you sacked, not turning up at class tends to you not achieving higher things in higher education or good academic outcomes in higher education, and ultimately can get you removed from the course. Let's make the analogy. You can choose not to believe in gravity, but your disbelief in gravity does not alter the reality of gravity, and it still believes in you. Trust me, if you want to test your beliefs in your disbelief in anti-gravity and throw yourself off a high building, I am certain that the fall will not hurt you. The sudden stop at the bottom, however, may well be fatal. We have a saying in the Knight family that they don't turn into men the day they start shaving. Not so much talking of wayward teenagers, but more or less normal teenagers, or every teenager. And it's just a means of articulating that the mind doesn't completely mature until it's 25 or 26 as a man, quite a bit earlier as a woman. For the school leavers, you might find that suddenly your parents and teachers don't hassle you to do the work, nor to turn up to class, because all of a sudden you're meant to be an adult. Well, yep, it's true. If you're 18, therefore you can vote, you can drink, you can drive, preferably not together. All of these things, well, you can drink legally, at least in Australia. All of these great things and a lot more. But just because you are one day older doesn't actually mean that you're a whole 18 years more mature. You've been maturing from the day that you were born, and people are on different paths, different rates of maturity. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I didn't actually mature that much when I was at first at uni, and I certainly wasn't ready for it. Let's talk to the slightly more aged members of the audience, as in those who have not left high school and directly gone to higher education. Indeed, contrary to my expectations when I was researching this course, I thought that everybody who had been in a job and had been out of school for a while would certainly perform better than would someone straight out of high school, but that is not the case. Now, there's anecdotal evidence to suggest that what's happening here, that the people who have gone from work to higher education as opposed to from school to higher education not doing as well, it might have something to do with the regular income supply and the regular capacity to socialise, and that shift of having to commit that time that would otherwise be spent socialising to an academic pursuit. Now, not entirely certain about that, but it makes sense. And this is what I'm here for. I'm here to help you make those adjustments from whatever environment you have come from into a higher learning environment, so that you can be successful in the academic pursuit of that higher learning environment, to help you transition from the before to now and allow you to retain some sanity and some balance while achieving good things academically. And to be completely honest about my past, I did not make that transition very well at all. I lacked a mentor, but enough about me, let's talk about you. I used this exact same system and went from getting 30% to 69% in the same subject. I went from getting letters from the university saying, why should I be allowed to continue my enrolment, to getting letters of congratulations for my academic success. Let me be an example and an inspiration to you. All of my IQ tests throughout my life have come back plus or minus 10% of average. But I went from dunce to nearly ducks between attempts. And how? Well, I have thrown some hefty numbers about and some concepts like dunce to ducks. But let me explain to you that my results are not necessarily typical. For me to go from 30% to 60% in the same area, that is statistics, for me to achieve that, I was actually putting in 27 hours per week, including contact time, and I had no other academic commitments that semester. Now, I did have a full-time job and a wife, so I had to think about things other than just numbers. But that 27 hours represents about 35% of my free time, my available free time, or 16% of my entire 24-hour day. So it was a serious commitment, but it earned serious results, and it led to the following thing that cannot be taught. It led to, and it needs to be experienced, and it is that success breeds success. When I say that my results are not remotely typical, I can't even make that claim because I don't know what a typical result is or what a typical student does with their time, if there is even such a thing as a typical student. But what I do know is that in my first attempt, I certainly did not do that amount of work in statistics, and consequently needed to attempt it 3 times before I never needed to do it again. What I am sharing with you here is the logic that focused, organised effort gets results in a discrete area of work. Indeed, I would hope that anyone who attends this training would do even better than I do. Again, it's my unsubstantiated opinion that most people who buy a self-help book or a self-help package don't actually become better, because buying the package does not complete the work for you. It's the same as people who buy a treadmill and then don't lose weight because they look at it and use it as a clothes hanger as opposed to actually running on the treadmill. I know that this stuff is self-evident, but it's important for me to get it out there to explain to you what is on offer and be completely clear about what is on offer here. No hobbits, no shake and bake qualifications, no instant results from no effort, no qualifications just landing in the mailbox or on your printer or on your email simply because you wished for it. What we are going to do here is 3 things. We're going to learn how to manage your time so you can still have a life, so you can study, so you can learn. We're going to teach you how to stay fresh, physically, spiritually, socially, mentally, so you can learn. And then we're actually going to learn a few learning techniques so you can assimilate, retain and reflect new information. But, and this is important, without the first 2, that is, manage time and stay fresh, the third one, and that is learn new things and retain and reflect it, that third thing might be random or limited and therefore potentially non-existent. What I'm eager to do here is to help you make those good outcomes, those good academic outcomes, systematic, sustainable and repeatable. And these elements of success planning are what I'm hoping you can do so you can replicate and achieve similar, if not better, results than what I have. So the application of these 3 things, time management, motivation and hard work, and I'll clarify what happens to make the change. So this really is the end of the world as you know it. My apologies to REM. But what happens next is you learn about what it takes. Because if you get into this and actually apply it, everything else will change. But if you don't want to apply it, likely nothing will change. It's up to you. You can choose to be better. I'm inviting you to be better. I am inviting you to be better than what you are now. I am inviting you to be better than what you were before, so you can get a qualification. And these qualifications are not like your bike or your car. You will have it forever, and barring malpractice, nothing can take them away from you. Again, it's entirely up to you. And I'd like for you to avoid my first experience at higher education. One of the things we're going to look at here is goal setting. And this leads to having more time on a focused activity of your choosing. And that might be accessible studies. That might be sports and recreation and rest. It might be family. The consequences of having control of your time should lead to less stress and the increased likelihood of academic success. Here's one part of the course that you'll get. And it's 7 steps of a goal setting process. And this part will take about 7 minutes. No need to take notes. It'll be very clear by the end of it, and you'll see it again when you enroll. 6. None of this counts unless you write it down, have a written plan. And the 7th part is a reality check. We'll come back to that later. So SMART goal setting stands for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-bound. And again, as you can see, it has to be written. Let's have a look at this. Say I have the goal that I want to run. Well, it's nice, it's a nice idea, but it's not actually a goal as I want to run stands. It's not specific, it is not measurable, it's not actionable, it's certainly not realistic, and it's not time-bound. Okay, let's change that. Make it specific. I want to run a marathon. Okay, that's specific, but it's not measurable, it's not actioned, it's not realistic, and it's not time-bound. Make it time-bound. I want to run that marathon tomorrow. Problem is, I'm currently only running 15 to 20 kilometers a week, and I very much doubt I could complete a marathon, which is approximately 4 times my maximum distance at the moment, without further planning and training. Let's say I want to just turn up on race day. Well, again, same problem. It's not realistic if my action to run the marathon is just to turn up to a race, be it tomorrow or, as this case says, in 6 months' time. there's no change between what I'm doing now and I can't run it tomorrow, there's going to be no difference in me completing the marathon in 6 months' time. Here's an action plan. Stretch 3 times a day. Seems reasonable. Run 30 kilometres 6 weeks out from the race. Run 20 kilometres 10 weeks out from the race. Run 20 kilometres 15 weeks out from the race. And build up to 15 kilometres 3 to 4 times a week over the next 3 months. Well, if I'm running 20 to 40k a week at the moment, I can change my running patterns to squeeze that out to 45k a week over the next 3 months. That'd manage. So this is realistic. So it is specific. It is measurable. I've got an action. Okay, my action is to live the plan on the previous slide. It seems realistic, and it's time bound. So the plan matches the goal. Okay, I want to run a marathon. I haven't set out a plan that means I'm going to be swimming, 100 meters a week, or something like that, or eating Big Macs 5 times a week as my training plan to run a marathon. So how does this apply to higher education? Well, write down your goals. Write down, do you want to have a pass for every subject? Do you want to have a high distinction for every subject? Write that plan down, write the goal down somewhere, and put it where you can see it. And then every 2 or 3 weeks, move it a little bit. Maybe turn the sign upside down. Maybe turn it on its edge, because if you have a sign that you're walking past all the time, after a certain amount of time, you don't see it anymore. So move that sign so you can keep seeing it. Then there'll be a template on the website you can download. You figure out what is your weakest subject and put an enormously disproportionate amount of time into your weakest subject. Why is that? Because if you work on your weakest subject the most, or the one you like the least, you won't have to do it again. If you work the least on the subject that you like the least, you increase the opportunity of having to do it more than once. So write down your numbers of hours required per subject for the grade you want in that subject and make it visible somewhere. And remember, 51 is not a wasted effort, but 49% is most certainly a wasted semester. And as I've said before, study the most in the subject you like the least, or the subject that you are the weakest at, so you decrease the opportunity of failing that subject. What is the actual cost of you having to do a subject more than once? Well, course fees. You're paying at least twice the amount of money to your training provider to get that subject accredited to your academic record. The pain and grief of having to repeat something that you don't actually like. The lost income for being a semester behind your cohort. While they're all out earning an income, you're still back in class playing catch up. And this is just some of them. For example, say I wanted to pass statistics the first time. The plan would be attend every class. Okay, assuming that I hate statistics and really never wanted to do it again. Substitute statistics for your own most feared or least enjoyable subject or unit. Next part of the plan is to do all of the assigned work. Ask questions of my lecturers and tutors and fellow students in the parts of that subject that I didn't understand. Pre-read the course content in advance of the week that you're actually studying that in class, so when you hear it in the class, you're not hearing it for the first time. Do extra exercises in the parts that I found the hardest. Look at past exam papers and do them, and then have them corrected and learn from my mistakes. And most importantly, know that I will never have to do this work again after 12 weeks. Okay? You hate a subject, you only have to do it once. You only have to do it for one semester. It's only 12 weeks out of your life. Now, if I live to be 80 years old, and I suspect for a variety of reasons I may live a little bit longer than that, but if I live to be 80, this 12 weeks represents 0.29% of my life, and having gone through that 0.29% of my life having a tough time with say statistics or advanced calculus, I have the rest of my life with all of the benefits of being a qualified person, the jobs, the salaries, the job satisfaction. Okay, so for example, my goal is I want to pass statistics the first time. The second part of the plan is to review each week's notes and text sections and exercises, and do extra exercises in the parts that I found the hardest. Now this plan looks, well, yes, the goal is specific. Get a pass or better first time around. It is measurable. I've got a plan from the previous couple of slides. It's actionable. Well, yes, I have to live that plan as per the previous few slides. It's realistic. Yes, well, a lot of people actually pass statistics the first time around. And it's time bound, yes, because there is an exam at the end of the semester, which is 12 weeks long. Now, this may well work, right? It's a smart plan and the plan matches the goal. Looks like it could be reasonable. Seventh part of the plan is to make sure that the plan conforms to the SMART format. Okay, this goes a long way to making certain that you have academic success. And it also goes a long way to making certain that you don't have to do the subject you hate the most more than once. This is why it works. The goal is SMART. The plan matches the goal. The double reality check, and the next part is to live or to execute that plan. This is part of what allowed me to complete my higher education in what was effectively part-time minimum time. This seems like a simple process, and it is part of what got me through. With less stress, with more time, and ultimately, when I qualified, more money. Sounds simple? It is, because it is simple. Now, I can't promise that this will work for you, but here's what I do predict. That if you do this, you are more likely to succeed and have changes, good changes in your life, than if you don't. You can do it. I'm asking your permission to let me show you how. Why is it important to you? This helps you get more time, be less stress, and ultimately more money. So, if you're sitting at your computer watching this webinar and you've heard how it works, and you know that the whole course is going to be a great way of improving the likelihood that you'll get qualified first time or this time, clearly the system works, or I would not be a graduate. And just consider that I have a completely average IQ. The fastest way to get started is a simple class I've created called University Skills Higher Education Package. So if you're someone who wants to discover a proven way to achieve academic success, the first time round or this time round, you might be wondering, what I've just showed you is that this is part of the exact same system I've used to achieve academic success, have more free time, be less stressed, and ultimately have more money. And if you'd like me to help you implement everything that we've gone through and more, I'd be delighted. Here's how to do it. Go to my website, to the Higher Education Package at University Skills Academy, and sign up. If you're someone who is smart enough to enroll in higher education, but find you need a little extra help, you might be wondering, how can you utilize all the little tactics that we've been talking about quickly and easily? Well, the fastest way is to get started is to take the Higher Education Training Package. If you're someone who wants to discover the proven way to academic success the first time round, then this is for you. I've created a 4-week training experience called the University Skills Higher Education Package, where I literally break down every step-by-step way, the exact same process that I learnt to pass those exams and get qualified in minimum time. We do this in a way where we reduce stress, so you can get more out of your time, so you can stay fresh and learn heaps, but still have a life outside the books. In the first week, we'll look at the successful habits of students. We will review sharpening the saw on how to stay fresh and motivated. We'll be looking at using 24 hours to get the most out of every day, so you can have the time to learn. We look at scheduling so you can fit everything in. And be advised, scheduling has career paths built into it. There's whole careers made out of being an efficient scheduler. In week 2, we look at your use of time on campus and how quickly you forget and how quickly you can remember, so you can do less work and remember more. We revised that goal-setting lecture we've just done. We use a brought forward system so that nothing gets left out. We have anti-procrastination lessons, and this really helps in achieving for your tests, with your test preparation and getting assignments in on time, and so that nothing gets left to the last minute or the night before. We look at personalised shorthand in full so you can listen better and take higher quality notes in class. We look at actual note-taking techniques that leads to less work and more stuff remembered, there's that word again, so you can start in class establishing an aid to memory and learning notes. We look at spatial location memory work that helps you improve your memory capacities, and we look at test predictions still in week 3 so that you can actually predict tests. In week 4, we look at group work so that you can get the most out of groups that you set up. We look at test taking skills and how to prepare for the exam, what to do on the day. We look at test taking skills and what to do in the exam itself and how to go about that. And we look at money and studies so you can actually survive and thrive while studying on a reduced income. We have another week of other things that will be written after the course starts. There will be a weekly question and answer session with me or another qualified member of staff, and by qualified that means a graduate or a subject matter expert. Every week this will be an ongoing resource. If you can't make the question and answer session, it'll be recorded and that Q&A session will be available for the week. We will also have a private Facebook group for you to help each other during and beyond the lecture series. Stay motivated throughout the course and get qualified in minimum time or first time. Now, if this looks overwhelming and sounds as though it might take more time than the course that you're enrolled in, let me assure you there is nothing more ironic than spending time teaching time management. The whole course is designed around respecting and valuing your time and helping you make the most of it. To that end, we have a production goal of every video lesson being less than 10 minutes. I value and appreciate how precious your time is. After all, it is a non-renewable resource. We might have missed that 10-minute goal once or twice during the course. However, I want you to succeed. So we do this with you in setting you up for success, not only while in higher education, but beyond. And I apply all of these things in my working life. This same 3-step formula has helped me get qualified and have the career and the finances and the lifestyle that I've wanted. Here's what I want you to do next. And here's why you should do it, and here's why it is a safe decision. Naturally, if you implement everything I share with you, you'll see amazing results in your academic pursuits. And that's why I want you to invest in the University Skills Higher Education Package just now. It is just $700 to get you access and get you started. And when you claim your copy today, there's also going to be 2 bonuses. But these bonuses are only available the 7 days that the cart is open. Once the cart closes, the price goes up. If the discount and the bonuses aren't enough to help push you over the line, I have something else for you. If you don't like the course after the first 3 weeks, you can get a complete refund. Keep that part of the training, no questions asked. And if the discount and bonuses aren't enough for you to be pushed over the line and make the purchase, if you don't like the course after the first 3 weeks, you can keep that part of the course and all of the resources with it and get a 100% refund, no questions asked. University Skills Higher Education Package. Okay, here's a few things I think you know are true. You're sitting at your computer right now or watching this webinar, so you are interested in what's going on with this. You've heard how it works. And you know that the whole course is going to be a great way of improving the likelihood that you'll get qualified first time or this time. And this is why I've created it. Be it academic success, give you more time to do what you want. So you can play sport, have that part-time or whatever that non-study activity is of your choosing. Be less stressed. Increased opportunity of academic success, all in 28 days. If you want to get qualified in minimum time, or this time, achieve academic success, be less stressed, be better organized, have all the time to do everything that is expected of you, all in 28 days, this is for you. Here's how we'll do it. In the first week, we'll give you the system and time management. In week 2, we will look at goals and organization. In week 3, we'll look at note-taking skills and actual studies. And in week 4, we'll look at group work and tests. In the first week, we have habits of successful students so you can approach the workload the right way. A review of sharp saws, that is staying fresh and motivated, so you can stay the course and throughout your career. Using 24 hours, how to get the most out of every day so you can achieve the most in the least amount of time. Scheduling, so you can fit everything in that you have going on. Use of time on campus, so you can do less work and remember more. And understanding how quickly we forget, so you can remember sooner. And how quickly we can remember, so you can organize your life into learning blocks. Goal setting revised, so you can apply it and so you can achieve your desired outcome. The brought forward system, so nothing gets left out. Anti-procrastination, so nothing gets left to the last minute. This is also a stress-reducing process that ensures you get started way ahead of the night before anything is due. We will help you create your own personalized shorthand so you can take notes faster listen better, and learn more in less time. Note taking, so you can take notes that readily translate into immediate aids to learning. Spatial memory location, so you can remember more with less effort. Test prediction routines, so when you get to the exam there's no surprises. Group work, so you can get the most out of group work and not let them become time thief while having friends assist you with the really hard stuff. Test taking skills, so we can prepare you to do exactly what will get you the best exam results. Test taking skills, so you can get the best results from your time in the exam itself. Study and money, so you can survive while studying and budget for a student life, which leads to long-term monetary success. There will be a weekly question and answer session for the 4 weeks of the course and an ongoing Facebook membership to a peer support and instructor support network. With the weekly question and answer during the 4 weeks, that will be recorded. You are getting exactly the same system that had me achieve my graduation. I personally used this to graduate in minimum time. If I'd been able to apply these lessons the first time around, I would have been 10 years ahead in my lifetime of achievements. 4 weeks can put you ahead by 10 years compared to where I was at the same stage in life. For less than $700, indeed this time around only $449. So if this saves you repeating one subject, it's also worth the practice for the price of 1 unit of work. Payment option, $449. The first 100 people can make just 2 payments of $449.50 at this website. Choose your payment plan and make your payment. Then you'll immediately select your log-on information. Then you'll get an email with your login information, so you can, from that point on, for the next 4 weeks, get access to the week's learning material, and there will be a Thursday afternoon question and answer session. Get qualified this time. Achieve academic success. Be less stressed. Be better organized. Have the time to do all that is expected of you. All in 28 days. Here's the link. Best guarantee ever. You have 22 days to check it out. If by the end of that time you decide it's not for you, let me know and I'll give you a full refund, no questions asked. No questions asked ever. And you can still keep everything you've learnt, all the resources, be part of the group still. No wiggle clauses. No shenanigans. The higher education package, instead of $700 this time round, is now $449, and that's a 35% discount. More than $250 off. The reason to order now is the 35% discount. If you don't like it after 3 weeks, full refund, no questions asked. Best guarantee ever. After 75% of the learning is done, and you decide it's not for you, keep 100% of the course and get 100% of your money back. The best guarantee ever. If by the end of that time you decide it's not for you, let me know and I'll give you a full refund. No questions asked. You can still keep everything. No wiggle clauses, no shenanigans. Warning, this is a one-time offer for the first group. After the cart is closed with this offer, you will not be able to get this offer again. I plan to raise the prices next month. You've watched this entire presentation. If you want to qualify in the fastest possible time, and you know this is an excellent deal, take advantage of this incredible discount, an amazing bonus like week 5, an extra week of training at no extra charge, and the can't lose guarantee.